Time for the finals. We won another die roll, luckily, and we would like to play first. A pretty expensive hand. Only turn 3 Flux Mage followed by hopefully these creatures. I'm not going to mulligan because perfect mana and no 2-drops is better than a hand with a 2-drop, but no way to cast them. Also, we are only running 16 lands, so we are kind of in the danger zone already. I think that prioritizing 1 and 2 drops is one of the keys to the format, but I don't think that you can afford to mulligan into aggressive hands, especially not with Simic. Maybe with certain Boros decks, but yeah, not with the deck we drafted. And we are actually drawing the late game portion of our deck. With the second Denizen, we actually have a pretty powerful turn 5, 6, 7 coming up, almost independent of what we draw here. Going to be interesting whether he drops a mountain or a swamp, meaning completely different matchups. And of course, I think that we have to run out the Flux Mage here. If we want to make use of the Evolve ability, then we have to get it down as soon as possible. Of course, Croconaw would also evolve, but our goal has to be to use the Flux Mage as much as possible. And we are now entering a phase where we can actually, once again, whether we draw a land or a spell, we are happy either way. I actually realized that I could force the damage here if he doesn't block because he's afraid of Slaughterhorn or something like that. I would have blocked if I were him, but he didn't. So now if we draw spells, it's great, and if we draw land, then we have Denizen followed by Spire Tracer in the same turn, which is also pretty amazing. We still have to decide if we want to make our creatures 4 power to punch through his guards, or if we want to make 1 large creature, or just distribute it evenly, not really caring about what's happening. So this is interesting because there is multiple cards that have a potential impact here. Arrows of Justice is the first one that comes to mind. There isn't that much instant removal. Smite, of course, being one of them. And yeah, the arrows I mentioned. I think we don't really want to find out. In the best case, we would deal 2 damage because I want to make the Spire Tracer larger if possible. And in the worst case, he just blows us out with some kind of trick. So the fact that he didn't block the Flux Mage last turn also could. Oh no, it's Homing Lightning. We could have thought about that, but having both Denizens in play is just too good, I think. Yeah, that's really bad for us. I don't know. I think we passed that one, so I probably should have remembered. But it didn't occur to me that he could be holding it and that we would be running into it. Yeah, that was very unfortunate. I'm still not sure what we should have done if we had realized it, but just running into it blindly was certainly not the best idea. So now I think we try to distribute those counters onto our evasive creatures and just get going in the air. This game isn't lost at all, so let's just continue with our plan, even though that was a pretty hefty blow. It's what's called a 2-for-1, but like I talked about, the The discard spells of our last opponent were basically 2-for-1s in the traditional sense because he got 2 cards out of us, but it was much less of a blowout because these cards we invested 8 mana in, and they are also 2 spells with very high utility throughout the whole game. So he almost got 2 of the top 5 cards in our deck probably. So that's how good that Homing Lightning was, or how good we allowed that Homing Lightning to be. He could have Arrows of Justice again, but we can't just play around everything. That's just not reasonable. So I think we want to grow the Tracer, which does play around Aerial Maneuver, and then we can drop either Croconera or Frilled Oculus. Doesn't really make a big difference. Although the Oculus might actually be able to attack next turn if he doesn't play anything. That would grow the Cloudfin Raptor, allowing us to attack with both. If we want to take this a little more conservatively, we could only attack with the Tracer, but I think that if he has Aerial Maneuver, then so be it. I'm more afraid of Arrows of Justice, but if he has multiple instant removal spells in his red deck, then can't really do much about it other than handling them in some way. He's also drawn quite a bit of lands, but it looks like he's using them, which is always a bad sign. Hopefully it's not Aurelia or something. Oh no, it's Ripscale Predator. Yeah, that's fine. I think that can't be blocked except by 2 or more. Okay. And it's a 6/5. Yeah, the problem with blocking that one is that you just run into so many things. I think that we just have to take it at least once and then see what happens. Maybe block it from then on, just trying to chump block and stay alive. Something like that should be fine. And here we have the Denizen or the Croc, with the Denizen potentially triggering the Croc. Don't think that's highly relevant, but who knows. We're also dealing quite a bit of damage here, so it's not completely out of the question to just go for the kill next turn with some combination of Pit Fight and some other cards, especially if he somehow isn't able to block with more than the Ember Beast. We might just attack for lethal. Yeah, I'm going to take these 6. I don't think there's a reasonable block I could make. Okay. Yeah. With him leaving open the key rune to block, I don't think it's reasonable to go for the kill here. So what we want to do is just evolve our creatures and then probably keep the Flux Mage open or make the Spire Tracer a 5/5. That's the 2 options that I see here. We could also attack with the Oculus. And then he probably... Well, you can't just block with the guards, I suppose. No, I feel much more confident just taking this to the air and winning that way. And even double blocking his Predator shouldn't be a bad play with the amount of power we have on the board. one more land, and he's playing something. Activating the key rune, okay. We have to be aware that this is a double striking key rune, so a Blood Rush is pretty potent, but we have the Pit Fight in our hands, so that's not a big deal. I think we can actually threaten to kill the Croc and then block the key rune with Frilled Oculus. Not kill the Croc, kill the Ripscale Predator, because we have the flyers to win us the game. Flux Mage is the first blocker, and he just wants to let First Strike resolve, which is fine. It looks like regular damage is resolving as well. Okay, that was unexciting. Didn't really do all that much there. And that Ember Beast isn't going to attack, so yeah, kind of interesting. I think it's sufficient to just attack with these, but there isn't that much that can happen if we attack with everything. Oh, let's just try to finish it right here. Yeah, -10. Looks like he just didn't have anything. Maybe a Blood Rush creature, but that wasn't enough to kill us with the Ember Beast, and we were still holding Pit Fight, so there was really not much that could happen. So even with the blowout of Homing Lightning, we still got there. Scatter Arc is fine, but as we've seen, it's just unrealistic to have this open when he goes for the removal spell. He's also a Blood Rush color, so having that Scatter Arc not work on half of his tricks is not what I want to be doing. I think with the low amount of cards we actually have in our sideboard, that we should just keep the deck as it is. It has proven to be probably more powerful than it looks like on a first glance, and we've also shown that we can win games that go longer, even though our cards are very cheap overall. So I think I like it. Also, being on the draw, I'm fine with just the 16 lands, which have done a pretty good job. The Anemones are actually an option against Boros, but I like to be as aggressive as possible whenever I have the chance. And I'm actually most scared of his late game 6-5, because his early stuff didn't really manifest. So let's see what he brings to this game. Our opponent is keeping, and we have a beautiful hand. We have been quite fortunate, always drawing both the colors of mana and getting our curve. Even after the mulligan, we drew into a 2-drop. So we really can't complain about that. A little bit of luck on our part there. But of course that also has to do with how we build our deck. We actually have a very low curve, so it's just impossible for us to have these hands with a bunch of 5-drops that can't really do anything, and yeah, it's just harder for our deck to get mana screwed, which is also why I'm just playing 8 and 8 to make sure that our chances for having both colors are as high as possible. Here I ran out the Disciple instead of the Incursion Specialist or Frilled Oculus, because being able to block Vorjak Halberdiers this turn is not only crucial but just very important. So next turn I still have a blocker for the Halberdiers. If he has the 2/2 haste flyer is kind of legionnaire, then our blocks are a little more complicated. But if I drop the denizen here, I still have multiple good blocks. So even if he has a haste creature, which is kind of the worst case scenario, so I don't have to hold back the Spire Tracer or anything. Now, the question is how much time I'm going to have to drop my other creatures. Of course, I would like to get the denizen down, but if necessary, I can also just drop the Oculus and keep up 2 mana if things go too crazy here. No attack, no spell. So that basically means he has to have the Homing Lightning in hand, I suppose. Can't really think of another reason why he would do that. In theory, it's possible he doesn't have another creature. I don't really get it, because there's no creature on my side of the battlefield that really needs to be dealt with. I almost want to just drop the Frilled Oculus, because I can keep open the mana to pump it. Incursion Specialist is interesting as well if I want to go on the offensive, but that means dropping 2 spells each turn, and that's just not realistic. My problem with dropping the Denizen is that this is the target that he wants to Homing Lightning the most, and I kind of give it to him. But on the other hand, if I don't run it out, I'm never going to profit from its ability anyway. So let's just see what he has here. Maybe he has nothing. Yeah, it just doesn't play anything. Doesn't mean that he doesn't have the Homing Lightning, but I would have expected him to think longer after that Denizen if he had it. If we draw a green creature now, we can actually save our Spire Tracer from the Bomber Core trigger as well, which would be a nice bonus. And if not, we are still doing fine, because currently his board isn't really set up to attack into ours. And that's a great draw. I think I want to keep up the aggression and just drop the Incursion Specialist. With so many blockers, I'm not really afraid of much he could have. And I don't think I need the Spire Tracer on defense with all these creatures being available. Oh, something is happening. Aerial maneuver. Maybe I shouldn't have played the Incursion Specialist, tapping out, so that he knew that he could do that. But I would have needed a very specific card anyway. Probably a Slaughterhorn. I guess trading the Spire Tracer for an aerial maneuver that could have blown me out in this upcoming attack step is fine. Now I need to find another creature to attack with, though. Maybe I can just draw a green creature. That would be great. That one is somewhat of a double-edged sword, though, because I do run the risk of just losing to Homing Lightning. But on the other hand, we've seen that the Homing Lightning wasn't really a big deal. I still think that I have to play around it here, simply because he's holding 3 lands and has Homing Lightning mana, hasn't used it yet. So I'm going to go with the Oculus. Kind of unfortunate, we aren't evolving the Croc. We are kind of denying ourselves the chance of triggering the Specialist and so on. Who knows, he might not have anything, or sit there with a splashed Merciless Eviction or something. Oh, that's interesting. Who knows, maybe we are going to see an attack now. I don't really think so. Against Frilled Oculus, it's kind of tough to attack. So now we could actually play the Denizen. like I've said, that's bad against homing lightning, but we do trigger the Croconura, and we can put a counter on something like Sage's Road Denizen and to just attack with it. And I feel like we aren't really on the offensive, but we aren't looking too bad. I could also put the counter on the Ivy Lane Denizen, but then he's just going to take it if he has homing lightning and kill it then. What I could do is hold back the Denizen, wait until I draw another green creature to get one Denizen out of homing lightning range. But I want to make the Croconura bigger, and I think I should play this a little more aggressively. So let's see. I need a 3-power creature, otherwise the infantry is just going to kill it. And it's either going to be the blue Denizen or the Disciple. Given that he can kill a 3/4 creature with double blocking, I think putting it on the Disciple is fine. I just want to get one of his creatures off the board. I could have attacked with Frilled Oculus as well, but then my defense crumbled if he has homing lightning. He can still opt to just take 3 here, and there isn't much I can do about it. But I was hoping that he was under sufficient pressure. Does he have another aerial maneuver? No, he has at least 2 smites. One was milled by my Denizen, which is kind of a lot for a Boros deck. Which explains why he hasn't been able to go on the offensive. If you have multiple smites in your battalion Boros deck, it's kind of weird. That Denizen is a card that we have to be very aware of, but he doesn't have a homing lightning, so that's very valuable information. So now we don't have great attacks here. If we attack with Frilled Oculus and he plays a white creature, I think that's fine. If we attack with Frilled Oculus and he has the homing lightning after all, it might be a bit worse. But still, I don't see a great attack for him. I think we can safely try to deal some more damage here. Let's hope he doesn't have another smite. That's an interesting block, which basically tells me that he has to have something else. Oh, that's cool. +3/+0 and first strike. So it's a 5/2 first strike. I think I just go for the bioshift here. If he has another smite, that's a blowout, but otherwise it's a blowout in my favor, so I think we can risk that. Let's see if that works. Okay, nice 2-for-1 there. Still, it was like kind of the worst burst of strength ever, but still, I'm going to take it. Our opponent still doesn't have any attacks. Not much happening here. That Oculus is also quite a bit harder to block now. We are actually winning the race against that Burrows deck pretty easily. He had an aggressive start, but he never had the chance to attack. And his hand was some tricks, but somewhat defensive ones, so I'm hoping that we can just continue to dominate him like we are doing currently. That's a nice card, a Spire Tracer. It doesn't pump the Croc, but we do get 2 triggers from the Denizen, so let's just see if that resolves. Now, the problem is that most of our creatures aren't really good at fighting with his. If we make the Denizen a 3/4, for example, it's only going to get 1 creature. We can't really force him to double to lose 2 creatures. The Oculus is great because he can't even kill it with 2 creatures. He would have to block with 3, then we make it 4 power, and then we always kill 2 of his. So that's why the Oculus is so important. I think what we want to do is to make the Denizen a 3/4 to just be able to attack with it, and then we can either make the Oculus 1 extra power, making it even harder for him to deal with it, or forcing him to just double block it and lose his team, basically. Or we put the counter on something else that we want to be able to attack. For example, the Spire Tracer or the Incursion Specialist. I think Spire Tracer is a fine target for now. He hasn't shown a way to deal with the Oculus until now, so there's not much reason to believe that this is changing. Does he have a Pit Fight as well? Yeah, Pit Fight, one of the worst cards in Burrows, and I think he's playing far too many spells in his deck. Don't really know why. I'm going to pump the Oculus now to play around Arrows of Justice and then continue the beatdown plan. He does have the block with Warmind Infantry now, but it's virtually a 2/1, so if he double blocks our Denizen, it's even worse for him. So Halberdier and Bomber Corps. No Halberdier and Skynet Legionnaire. Yeah, that isn't the best deal for us, but I think we just take the high-powered creature here. I'm not too afraid of the Skynet Legionnaire. I think we're getting a fine deal. Oh, he might have the 6-mana Angel that we passed. No, he has a Riftscale Predator, okay. Now we would love to have another counter on the Oculus to be able to attack with it. So maybe we just put it on there. Or we use the Slaughter Horn itself. No, just playing it is so good. I mean, we get 2 counters. That has to be great, right? So now we want 1 more counter on the Oculus so that he's forced to block it with the Predator. And then the Oculus has 7 toughness and exactly 5 power. If we could make it 2 more power, then it would make sense to make it even stronger so that it doesn't only trade for the Predator. But I think that's a fine trade as is. If we can get rid of that one, it's perfectly fine. And we can already prepare our next 3 power creature to attack him. And I think it probably makes the most sense to just make the Croconora 3 power because it's the only creature that Well, no, I think maybe the Denizen is the right target. This is a trade-off between, if he has Homing Lightning, it's always bad to pump the Denizens, but the Croconaw has the potential to grow to 3 power naturally, so it might be better to take the Denizen. Let's just do that. And here we just allow the trade to happen. I assume that he's going to take it. Yeah, it looks like that's happening. He needs to decide on another blocker, but we aren't going to kill one of his other creatures. We are going to kill the Predator, so he's really not risking anything there. And that resolves. We pass the turn. We have to watch the time and hope that he doesn't have another 6-drop. We really don't want to play against that Angel, which should be pretty obvious. And now we slowly have to whittle down his board. I don't want to trade Denizen for Scorchwalker, I feel like, because it has the highest potential of the cards we have. Okay. If the infantry is gone, our 2-power creatures are actually able to attack. Which isn't irrelevant. Oh. Okay, Foundry Champion. That's a good one. So that Foundry Champion is going to kill us pretty quickly. We can't really block it, so I'm going to hold back on that Cloudfin Raptor, and then maybe try to draw another spell to deal some damage if he attacks with the champion. It's not the greatest plan, but I don't really see a reason to run it out now. Yeah, this card is huge. I mean, this has 8 toughness or something. Yeah, we aren't going to block. Yeah, that's kind of unfortunate. There was just a whole lot of nothing happening, and now our time is also running kind of low. Maybe we should have been a little more proactive the whole time. But we actually drew a great card, triggering everything, including Evolve. And we also get a counter on something. So it's probably just the Krasis itself that wants the counter, because his Scorchwalker is a problem anyway. Yeah, we don't really want it on anything else. The only alternative would be to put it on the Specialist, because it's going to deal 1 more damage this turn. But if you draw a green creature and the Krasis gets an additional toughness, that's good. And he has Bomber Core. If he just attacks with the Bomber Core, we don't want him to be able to kill the Krasis. Okay, so we're getting in there for a bit of damage. Bring him down to 6. And then we need to F6 again. Really low on time now. Kind of unfortunate. I would have like to have more time for this game. Now we have to decide what to do with our Cloudtrain Raptor, for example. We could jump block the Foundry Champion, but on the other hand, it's a very valuable damage source. I also don't think that we can jump block with Ivy Lane Denizen just yet, because if we draw a green creature and pump the Krasis to 5/3 trample, we are almost assuredly going to win. So it might just be the best bet to block to take the damage one more time, especially because we are going to untap the Incursion Specialist, which is the best jump blocker for us. Still think that we had to deal the damage there. He can still attack, right? I mean, yeah, he just attacks with the champion. I'm going to take it. I don't know if that's too risky or not. There's certainly some cards that we died to. He didn't pump, which is interesting. It's almost impossible that he needs all his red mana, so maybe that was a misclick. I don't really know. So we do a land, meaning that our Incursion Specialist isn't going to get active, and if we attack with the Krasis now, he's going down to 4, with us not really having a chance to beat him, I feel like. So I think the best bet is to just not play anything. Hopefully we can draw a green creature. Time for the Shamble Shark. He really has a third smite. That's really unfortunate. Don't know what he wants with all these smites. Is he going to attack with everything now because it kills the Shamble Shark? Don't think he can do that. Can he? No. Then I just jump block the Foundry Champion and kill him on the swing back. Okay, yeah, that's something he can do, I suppose. Forcing me to jump block anyway. Yeah, that's pretty nice for him. And the champion is lethal, so we need to block it. We're going to keep one creature, so it's probably best to keep the Croc around rather than the Denizen. Yeah, whatever. This game is probably lost now, and then I have something like 3 minutes left on the clock. Oh yeah, something else. It's an interesting deck. Let's save that time for game 3. I think that Scatter Arc might be a realistic card against him. I don't know why somebody would play that many spells, but that Scatter Arc should be really good against Smite and whatnot. Hydroform, yeah, I mean, somehow he wasn't really able to get through, so I don't see much of a reason for Hydroform. We have a problem against his Bomber Core, but I don't see much that we can do about that. So, question is, what is there even a card that we can cut for Scatter Arc? Maybe the Bioshift, especially because it's bad against all the smites. Yeah, let's just take that out and play Scatter Arc instead. Although Bioshift does blow out some of his cards as well, I think having one more expensive card is fine in this matchup. And I don't have much time, so I'm just going to play really fast. Maybe this keep is already a bit too ambitious, but if we draw an island, we actually have a shot at beating him on time. Or in time, rather. Yeah, I'm sorry about taking too much time, so to speak, but that's just happens on Magic. That's just what happens on Magic Online. And I was feeling very confident that we could win the game we were playing, just until he had another Smite after we top decked the Shambo Shark. So things were looking really good, and then he just blew us out basically. And if he hadn't had that 6-drop, then everything would still have been fine. Now, we might just lose because we don't draw lands here. So it's possible that I should have mulliganed. But I would have had to think longer about that. And with less than 4 minutes on the clock, I didn't want to do that. So it's probably my bad. Overall, I think that we have a great deck and also a good matchup against his. Like I said, I don't like the amount of flyers, the amount of spells he's playing. And of course now he can aerial maneuver to get rid of a Spire Tracer or something, but it's not really what you should be trying to do. The problem is that I have to run into Homing Lightning again, but I don't see a way to win this game by holding back on my cards. It also seems like he just doesn't have anything, so he's holding a 6-drop, I suppose. Yeah, his deck is kind of weird, in the sense that this is definitely not your typical Boros deck. Going Basilica Guards into Halberdiers into Ripscale Predator is just weird. I think I have to block here. Could double block this, but not profitably. And this is going to take deal 3 every turn. I'm not too sure, but... So now things get complicated. I think we basically want to race here, which is very difficult, but maybe we can pull it off. We can only play 1 green spell a turn, so we would have to just drop the Drake Ring Crisis now. I'm just going to try. I don't have much time left anyway. If he has spells and X-Stored in addition to the Predator, then we are probably losing, but I think this gives us a shot. It also makes his smites less usable. I'm pretty much expecting us to die, to roll over because of that Predator, but I still haven't seen a way to get around that. If he has aerial maneuver here, he just hits me for 7, so I die. He doesn't attack, which is a good sign, I suppose. That's something. So Now I'm just going to continue with the evasive plan, hoping to get him somehow. This is a crazy game. And we are still alive, which is even crazier. I don't believe that he can be on nothing here. That would be so weird. Madcap skills? Can't be blocked except by 2 or more? I think we just let that resolve, right? I want to keep open Scatter Arc to prevent him from just winning. But I could have also gone for the kill here with a double spell combination, making my Incursion Specialist unblockable. But I would have put him on having a spell and extort, and that would have been far too risky. Could have attacked with everything, I suppose. But I didn't really check if I could kill him. What a crazy game. So he's on 4 basically. And we just attack for 5 in the air, I believe. Let's just do that. Yeah, pretty reasonable game to win, I suppose. Sorry for not commentating 100% aware of what was happening, but that's what the Magic Online clock does for you. I think it's great to have it, and it was my fault for being a bit slow in the beginning. I don't remember if this was the game where I was interrupted by the phone call, but I lost some minutes in the beginning. Otherwise, that wouldn't have happened. So yeah, crazy or not, you decide. I'm really proud of my winning streak in Gatecrash Limited, and I hope that I've given you another nice idea of what I like to do in this format. I'm Simon Götzen, recording Simon Says for mtgoacademy.com. If you like this show, or if you have any comments or suggestions, let me know in the comments. Tell your friends to visit this awesome site and watch my series. See you next time.